Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Fleet Forum Wednesday webinar. I'm very pleased that Joseph Nettey is with us. Joseph is the workshop manager for PK Trucks in Ghana, and a very experienced manager, I would say. And we're very happy that Joseph will share his experience and give us some guidance or tips and tricks on how to look specifically at development of safe drivers or safe driving behavior. What's needed to do that? What's the role of management in that? What's the role of the driver? What's the role of the organization? So again, Joseph, very much welcome. I'm happy you're here with us to present, to share your ideas. And before I give the floor to you, um, of course, we will have a presentation of Joseph, and then there's room for questions and answers. And if you want to raise a question, please use the chat, the question mark that you will see at the bottom of your screen. Ask question, because that means that it's easier to put your question in the end on the screen. And I see that we have quite some people already who have been in our previous webinars, and it's a good habit to say, "Oh, hi, your name, where you're from, what organization you work for." So we have an idea on who is in this webinar today. Yeah, so indeed, like we all do, great. Answer the last one. Who are you? What organization? And from what country are you calling in? So without further delay, I'm going to turn off my camera and I will completely hand over to Joseph. Again, Joseph, welcome. It's a pleasure having you here, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Paul. It's always a privilege to be part of this webinar for Fleet Forum and to share my ideas and experience. Good day to all our participants from around the world. My name is Joseph Nettey, like Paul said, the workshop manager for PK Trucks in Ghana as well. Drivers and fleet managers are the most people I interact with in my day-to-day activities, and there are a lot of experiences I've gathered from these interactions would like to share with you today. And Robertson made a statement, and I quote, "Your truck is a reflection of where you come from," unquote. That tells us that if we are going to talk about safe driver behavior, safe drivers, how to develop safe drivers. Easily you can see who is a safe driver and who is not a safe driver by knowing where they're coming from already from their outward behavior. So we start today's webinar, and the topic we are doing is tips and tricks to developing safe drivers. The role of fleet managers in developing safe drivers, ensuring that they operate safely, because fleet managers, we're focusing more on fleet managers developing safe drivers so they can operate safely within the organizations they work with. The question that we ask ourselves is, we're asking now is, who is a safe driver? That's mainly the key one, who a safe driver is. With knowing who a safe driver is, we can build our discussions further down to how it can be developed. A safe driver is a self-disciplined driver. A safe driver has three attributes, namely, it ensures that their vehicle is in good condition. They have self-discipline because they follow the rules of the organizations and also abide by the rules and regulations within the country and on the road as well. They are proactive, not reactive, because they are able to see dangers during their daily checks and inspections, and they can alert their fleet managers on how to mitigate those dangers and defects, rectify them before they cause breakdowns on the road. So these are the key attributes of a self-disciplined driver, because the main pillar is as organizations strive towards sustainable transport and logistics for a better world, one of the key people who fleet managers need to look and focus a lot of attention on their drivers. The organizations need to invest in training their drivers continuously, not just training once, but continuously, because it will bring economic advantage for the organization. It is a win-win, it's a triple win situation, because the driver wins because he drives safely and is developed as a safe driver. The organization is seen as a safety conscious organization that develops safety culture. And then the community also recognizes that from these organizations, Their drivers always adhere to regulations, and they drive safely even within the community and the environment they operate in. Today's webinar, we will discuss the following topics that relate to how fleet managers can develop safe drivers. Number one is the driver fatigue, its causes, its management. We will look into it as well and discuss a bit of more details and on the importance of why do we keep fleet maintenance records, and then why do we do pre-start checks as well, and then the drivers do's and don'ts that will guide us as fleet managers in ensuring that equipment operates safely. So the question we ask ourselves is, what is fatigue? Three questions we ask now. What is driver fatigue? And what are some of the impact of fatigue on drivers? Because if we understand the fatigue itself and relate it to driver fatigue, we can then be able to see some of the impact it has on drivers. So fatigue is the extreme tiredness of weakness as a result of mental or physical exertion. And then what is driver fatigue? When we narrow it down now to driver specific, it's a feeling of being physically and or mentally exhausted, which can impair a driver's ability to safely operate a vehicle. Then there are some of the impacts on drivers. It reduces their reaction time to unexpected situations on the road, because when they are so much physically and mentally exhausted, the reaction time is minimal. It's reduced. It reduces, and they are not able to make a correct judgment when there is an immediate danger at the time of unexpected or unforeseen events. And then it impairs their ability to make good decisions on the road as well, because they are mentally also exhausted. And then this goes a long way to increase the risk of accidents on our roads. And they also drivers experience, we also have this, which is mainly with a lot of drivers. It comes across all category of drivers. You have drivers who experience brief moments of micro sleeps. That is a sudden closure of the eye to fall asleep for a few seconds without realizing it, and then we think we are still okay. But you have that micro sleeps that set in, because it's also it's one of the impact of fatigue on drivers. It can also impact a driver's performance in terms of their work. They know them to be very active and energetic, but it affects the way they operate equipment and even attend to their work. Then there are some causes of driver fatigue we will be looking at that can help us in making a decision on how we develop our safe drivers. And some of the causes are lack of sleep. When we deprive ourselves of sleep, it can affect our mental and physical well-being, and it makes it difficult for the drivers to stay alert while driving, because then you are not in the right frame of mind. And long hours of driving without going for a brief break also impacts on or they are one of the causes of driver fatigue, because it can impair a driver's ability to react quickly and make safe decisions. Monotonous driving on long straight roads or in heavy traffic can be very boring and monotonous. This leads to a lack of concentration and alertness, because you are stuck in a heavy traffic, and you try to, let's say, because you have not had enough sleep, you try to just try to close your eye a little bit, and you yourself get into the rhythm where you go for a while, you stop, you sleep for a while, you go for a while. It already affects your concentration and alertness. Then the use of medications. Some medications can cause drowsiness, like cough syrups, some tablets, where drivers use it as a means of trying to stay awake, and it makes it dangerous to drive after taking such medications. How can fleet managers help prevent driver fatigue? Because we are responsible for the drivers, we would then need to put in measures to prevent driver fatigue. We need to train the drivers to be able to identify the early signs of fatigue and to promote a culture of safety. We need to ensure that drivers get enough sleep, and to ensure that they have a good night's sleep before driving, especially if they will be embarking on long journey. That means we need to have times for them to go off duty to sleep in a pending trip. And then they need to take regular breaks, because fleet managers need to implement policies and procedures that will ensure that their drivers take regular breaks between 2 to 3 hours of a stretch to stretch their legs. We have some companies in Ghana that have implemented such measures. They have rest stops in certain 2-hour interval locations, and this helps them in preventing driver fatigue, and to ensure that they have a drink or healthy food, because if there's a need for them to avoid junky foods or fast foods, but to emphasis on healthy food keeps them healthy as well. They also should share driving duties, because when they share driving duties with another driver, they are able to take turns in driving and resting. Which they should avoid alcohol use. Never drink alcohol before or during driving, as it can impair their ability to drive safely. Develop healthy lifestyles and stay hydrated, because as they sit behind the trucks and they're driving long journeys, there's a need to drink plenty of water to stay hydrated, and they also need to focus on ensuring that they have healthy foods to keep themselves in good health. They can have some fruits with them, they can have some salads with them, some healthy sandwiches whilst they go on such journeys, or when they get to the rest stops, look out for such ones, instead of going for heavy diets that can affect their concentration in terms of cause them to feel heavy and now feel sleepy. The development of healthy lifestyle is very vital. Where necessary, fleet managers should avoid drivers driving at night, because they don't have the concentration is reduced and their reaction time is also minimal. Fleet managers should develop a fatigue management plan if there is none, because with the fatigue management plan, you can help prevent driver fatigue. It shows out the guidelines and policies regarding what they should do, what are some of the things we've spoken about earlier. It all comes into a fatigue management plan that the organization should implement and put in place. There are some signs of fatigue we can see from the slides: drowsiness, micro sleeps, yawning, heavy eyes, and you could see some resultant effects like accidents on the road. The next thing we would focus on and discuss this morning, it's also we're looking at what is fleet maintenance record. This all ties into developing a safe driver. So the question then is, what is fleet maintenance record? It is a record that keeps track of all maintenance and repair works performed on an equipment or a vehicle. It also keeps record of all consumables such as fuel, tires, lubricants issued to date on each equipment. With this information, management is able to make informed decisions regarding fleet disposal, replacement plan. And that's the next one we're looking at now is, what are the importance of, why do we need to keep fleet maintenance records? They are very important in keeping tabs on the current condition of the vehicle and the driver performance. They help us to, these records needs to be updated continuously in the lifespan of the vehicle as well. They help fleet managers keep track of the maintenance and repair works done on the vehicle and the various components that have been replaced, and also helps them make informed financial decisions together with management based on data, because it gives an overview of the cost in maintaining a particular vehicle as against the revenue that comes in. Where such repairs, and then when you see that the repairs are becoming very consistent, fleet maintenance records are able to guide us with accurate information. Fleet maintenance record also gives us an overview of driver behavior, because driver safety is enhanced by fleet maintenance records. We see who is driving well, who is not driving well, because it all comes out from the records we gather. It allows fleet managers make very important and critical decisions for the organization. These are just some samples of the fleet maintenance record, and why, in a brief summary, why fleet maintenance record is important. Because it prevents expensive repairs, increase safety. It also helps in replacing equipment. It also helps in reducing labor workload, because mechanics don't need to stay too long on a particular truck for so long because of the obsolete nature of the equipment, and then you can able to manage each machine or equipment very well. So we then go on to look at the next point of discussion in developing a safe driver, and that is pre-start checks, which forms part of development of a safe driver. So these are the daily or weekly inspections that are carried out by drivers to ensure that their vehicle is in safe working condition before they embark on a journey. The emphasis is on safe working conditions, because if they don't do those checks, they would have breakdowns that will affect the reliability of the organization's logistics or supply chain division. Then there's a question also we need to ask ourselves: why do we need to do it? What are the importance of pre-start checks? Because it is the responsibility of every fleet manager in every organization to ensure that their drivers understand why and what pre-start checks is by answering the following questions. The fleet managers themselves need to answer the following questions, which serves as a guideline when they are trying to implement the pre-start checks strategy within the organization. What are pre-start checks, and why drivers need to do it? This all needs to be answered. Does it improve driver and equipment safety? How can fleet managers ensure it forms part of drivers' daily task? And then why is it important drivers have to inform their fleet managers when they have any defects during their inspections? Some drivers will try to hide the defect, but why should drivers have to also maintain truck and trailer? When these questions are answered by the fleet manager, it's able to help him, serves as a guideline in formulating a pre-start check strategy, or a pre-start check procedure and policy that will make the drivers adhere to it. Drivers are also made to understand why they need to do it. Then they can buy into it and becomes a part of their daily life. It's important to do daily checks before moving your vehicle, because you then get to know whether your vehicle is roadworthy, and we also get to check your exterior and interior proud components or parts of the equipment you are using or the vehicle you are using prior to starting your journey, because it's a must do. It's just like when we wake up from bed, you need to know you need to go to the bathroom and brush your teeth and wash your face. So we also need to check and make sure before we move the equipment. We need to all go through these daily checks and ensure that the vehicle is roadworthy and is safe to drive. You can also have some examples are you can have someone to see if your lights are working from your rear. You can check your tire pressures, see if your air filters are okay, they are clean, because if they are not clean, it can affect the performance of the equipment. And then you need to drain condensate from air receivers if you have a heavy truck. If not, and you have a car, you need to check no loose items or cables are hanging around. Are my windows free of damage or cracks? Because a little scratch can cause a broken window, and this can happen during driving, because it could affect or lead to huge problems or even accidents in the course of driving. Then we now come to look at drivers' do's and don'ts to be a safer driver. In being a safer driver, in everything we have the guidelines, the do's and don'ts, which serves as a guideline to help us in our, carrying out our daily task. So some of the drivers' do's are they need to use hazard lights in case of emergency in front and rear, so the people behind could have they will know there's a need to brake, and they need to use their seat belt. Flashlights needs to be used. A moment to put our mirrors in the right position to ensure that we are driving safely and we are not we don't have blind spots, or we can manage our blind spots. We need to keep a safe distance from the vehicle in front of us. We don't need to gate tail, because when he stops, we would hit the vehicle at the rear and create an accident. And we always need to be alert whilst we are behind the steering. Drivers need to be extra careful in bad weather conditions. There are times it could be very heavy rainfall, or it could be very dusty in a very windy environment. And drivers need to be always be careful in such bad weather conditions, because if it demands you don't need to go, and there's no possibility of moving and seeing your visibility is impaired, then there's a need to stop. When you stop, you can wait for a while and see where visibility is okay, then you drive on. And drivers need to be mindful of speed limits and keep to approved speeds within town and out of town. They need to all roads have their speed limits, so drivers need to adhere to these limits, and they need to get grips on their steering wheel. You often see truck drivers, they just with one hand holding the steering, and with one hand resting. When there's an emergency ahead of you, or an unexpected event, is an issue, you will not be able to have grips of your steering wheel, and this can veer off and create an accident. So they all need to ensure that they have grips on their steering wheel, and then they should also ensure that their daily checks are done before they embark on a journey. Then we now have to look at what are some of the drivers' don'ts. Some of the drivers don't. I can see there are some questions coming through, but I will share the some templates later with you. Drivers don't as well. Don't overuse the horn. It might scare people. You have truck drivers with air horns blowing through the town and scaring sometimes people, coming behind people and scaring them with the horn. Don't use your phone while driving. Leave it somewhere so you cannot see or hear it. Then you can have enough concentration. Don't overspeed. Don't have loose items in the dashboard or in the vehicle, because in case you apply your brakes, we could create some unforeseen events or circumstances or damages to your components or windshield. Don't overload your vehicle as well, and don't distract yourself whilst driving. You need to have full concentration and apply the three-way strategy, which is focus on the road, look on your dashboard, look on your windows left and right, and keep your concentration on the road. And then don't postpone repairs and maintenance jobs. There is nothing like, let me try and go on this journey, so when I return, I'll get my equipment fixed. These are some safety signs. Stay alert, talk or text later. There's no need to drink alcohol while driving. There's importance to have your seat belt in place, and then you have a pre-start checks. Technology has advanced that now that there are softwares or programs or um, devices or companies that develop pre-start checks procedures for organizations, and in real time you are able to know that your drivers who are off site are doing their pre-start checks, because if you have it as a software on your phone, on their smartphones, they are able to easily do the checks, and in real time you have information as to, I have 6 drive trucks out of the town into a different location 600 kilometers away, but I'm able to track them in the morning and know that the pre-start checks have been done. Then it also helps in planning, because you are able to see immediately what needs to be repaired or rectified on their return journey. So in conclusion, safe driving is hinged on the following: driver education and training. Safe driving practices, including defensive driving and respect for road users and road regulations, turns out to produce safe drivers. Vehicle maintenance. There is no alternative to safe driving if the vehicle is not well maintained. Vehicle maintenance is key to developing safe drivers. Driver monitoring. Risky driving behaviors needs to be monitored, and where necessary, coaching and training is provided. Safety culture. Throughout the organization, management should promote a culture of safety where all employees understand the importance of safe driving practices. The development of safe drivers who can navigate the roads safely and reduce the risk of accidents and protect themselves as well as other road users starts with you, the fleet manager. So, this is the core pillars in developing a safe driver. A summary of it in 5 key steps. So, this brings me to the end of my presentation. Thank you very much. And we can now go to the Q&A session.
Great, great, great. Thanks, Joseph. And there are definitely some questions. So let's go
Go to the chat. Yeah.
to the questions and answers. Carlos, that's the first question. Would conducting health tests that assess sleep apnea or other sleep disorders recommended?
This is sleep apnea or other sleep is recommended. Yes, I would say other alternative. This is one of the key ways of detecting sleep apnea or sleep disorders. It's one of the key factors. When you're able to detect this and know they have sleep apnea or sleep disorders, the medical team is able to advise on the way they can manage this their condition. That will play to your advantage, and know that these are drivers you can't send on long journeys, but you can send them short distances, so then you can manage and reassign their roles.
Very good.
Thank you. Can you share a template that we can use for repairs and maintenance records? Sure. If you go on the Fleet Forum website, there is a very nice template I've already glanced through, and I will recommend that one as the it's quite intensive, and you can pick and choose from it what will be suitable for your organization, and you can develop. If you would need, if you develop and you need me to assist as well as go through for you, you can get in touch with me via LinkedIn as well, and then I'm always available to assist in helping develop these templates and records.
Great. Yeah.
Thank you.
And you can always be linked to Joseph via us. So send us an email if you want to have specific
Yes.
from Joseph, and we will send an email after the webinar with some links to the information that Joseph just referred to on some of the templates that had been shared by Joseph already earlier.
Yeah. Ali Mohammed Al Kwai says all these instructions are positive, but most of fleet managers follow them by micromanaging, which leads to negative effect on drivers. Is there any psychological instructions for that? I would say if organizations, the management of every organization doesn't empower the fleet managers, it's one of the reasons why they micromanage, because they don't get the full support of management when it comes to areas of development and training, when it comes to the areas of penalizing or disciplining drivers who are driving riskily. There's no psychological instructions for that. It really needs to be empowered and supported by senior management in every organization, that the fleet manager will have the full responsibility and mandate to execute the procedures and policies put in place to ensure that the drivers operate safely. Thank you. What is the standard distance to be kept between the vehicle in front of you? There are most countries have their various distances and road regulations. I would say here in Ghana, we always try to maintain between 1 to 1.5 meter distance, but also the driver should also use his discretion, because if you have a truck with a rear hinge at the back, which is extending beyond its real tail end, then we can reasonably see and observe, do I need to keep more than 1 to 1.5, or do I need to maintain 1 to 1.5? Because you are behind the truck, so you could see what are the dangers associated with when they brake. Probably their rear lights are not working. So when you have quite an enough margin distance, it saves it avoids accident prevention.
Great. Okay. All right. Thanks, Joseph. Unfortunately, it is time. We spent our half hour, and I can imagine that there are many more questions. So again, reach out. We will send you an email afterwards with also the link again to the some of the templates for maintenance and repair records. And if there's any questions, just reach out to us, respond to that email, or send an email to me if you have specific questions or want to be linked to Joseph, and we can always, let's say,
Yeah.
arrange.
Or you can also share my LinkedIn
Oh yeah, yeah,
this thing with them. My my how do you call it? My username on LinkedIn. You can also share with them,
the LinkedIn
and then
profile.
they can get in touch with me. There are a lot of questions I've seen in the chat box. I
Yeah,
will take time to answer each of them and assist each of them along the journey of developing a safe
very good.
driver.
Okay, great. Again, thank you, Joseph, and thank you all for participating, engaging, raising your questions. And we hope to see you again in the next week's webinar on one of the follow-up webinars. So have a great day, the rest of the day, and hope to see you all soon again.
Thank you.
Thank you.